we again. Sit back, relax, we got the brain of band. No need to stress in the house, it's Van Bellen. The game is windsurfing, you can't yell them or tell them. We get the news, the views, the win biz. The brand's gear tips plus the world's best quiz. The Cubs PWA. We're professionals without the pay. There's nothing in pole dancing that we won't chat. From tandem boards to a windsurfing cat. It's your one-stop shop for a laugh and listen. Tune in each week or you'll be doing the missing.
Hello, everybody. Ben has gone walkabout. I don't know where he.
Sorry, I was about to shut the door. All right.
Oh, you're trying to prank me.
Yeah, I know.
Hello. Don't do that to me. You scare me. You scare me, Benny. Well, look at it. Well, the podcast hasn't even started and the money's already rolling in. Here we go.
Ride the Liga. Look at that. Let's go. We've got 5. What's CHFs?
Is that Swiss or am I don't know. No, I don't know. No, is it?
I seem to remember that from last time. Bloody brilliant.
I'm going to look it up now. What is that?
All right. Well, I'm just going to get a little bit into it. It's what you're going to expect from this podcast. Well, I don't know. But I was making the thumbnail, and we're going to talk about Chile, the 5-star PWA, IWT, the WWF, the WWCT 5-star, whatever how many digits we've got now is just finished, and we have some winners in the men and the women. We're definitely going to talk about those finals because the last time we did a podcast, as far as I remember, we hadn't had the finals. We've had masters and we've had all sorts of stuff going on. So I was doing the thumbnail, and I thought, you know what? Who's the best windsurfer in the world? And I think this question is not as easy to answer as it has been previously. Would you say that? Like, I think in the past, if we think back over the time, I think it was really easy in certain times gone by. You go, Robbie Nash, he was the best. And then it was like Bjorn Dunkerbeck. And then it was like, oh, is it Bjorn Dunkerbeck or Robbie Nash at the time? And then it was like, oh, Antoine Albeau came into the mix. And they were very good all-rounders, did everything. And now, because we don't have those overalls, I think it's definitely a different question. You know, Antoine Albeau, he is, not doing all the tour anymore. So he can't really be in there for best windsurfer in the world, even though he is the fastest windsurfer in the world. I don't think he's in that page anymore because he's knocking on a bit. That's just fair to say. Still an amazing windsurfer and one of the best of all time. But is he the best now? He can't be. He's the fastest, but he's not the best. So who is the best?
The best of the best.
And what is the best? We might have the best wave sailor, the best freestyler, the best racer, the best foiler, the best this, the best. But who is the best? Is that a question we can answer now? Because everybody has gone super dedicated. I don't like it personally. I love the fact when everyone does everything. And I've grown up with that. I've got all the toys, everything. I do every discipline. I'm not great at everything, but, I like to do everything.
Well, the question begs, you say the best of the best. Let's just say we had a world tour like they did in the old days where you had to do the racing, course racing, waves, for the overall, like they used to do. So if we had that today, I guess the question is who would win that? Do you reckon that could be classed as the best?
Say that again, because, sorry, I'm just looking at the comments coming through, and I do need to address that. In the women, to be fair, I think it's easy. It is easy. And you boys and girls out there are mentioning it. Sarah Keita offering that. It's this one I feel is obvious. Kills it in freestyle, kills it in the wave, kills it in racing. I don't think the best woman in the world is not up for grabs, I don't think, right now. I think this is really clear for me. In the men, not so much. So say again. Sorry, Paul.
Oh, no. Back in the good old days of the 80s and 90s where the overall world champion had to obviously, they did slalom, course racing, waves, you know what I mean? And became the overall. Yeah. So, I mean, that was a pretty good indicator of who was the best in the world, I guess, wasn't it? Because they had to do everything. So I guess the question I had was if that was going on today, that might be a good way to work out, who we think would be the best base, if that sort of tour was happening today. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I agree.
But,
it was difficult because when I look back and I look at these overalls and I remember now, I'm like, okay, there was wave and then there was slalom and then there was racing. So it was kind of edging towards the more racy type windsurfer. But if we're going to do it, let's say, as an all-round, everything, I think we have to have speed. We have to have freestyle. We have to have racing, in theory. We have to have slalom. And we have to have wave. That's the best windsurfer. And it's like, I don't know anyone who does all those disciplines, do I? I mean, let my brain sink in. Usually a few, some of them a few. I think, the first one that springs to mind is Amado Reespike.
Yeah, I was going to actually say him, yeah.
Like his level in freestyle is insane. His level in racing is insane. His course racing, not as good as his slalom, but still great. His foiling and his fin stuff's good. Never really done any speed, and he doesn't really do waves, but he can double forward. He can, but his riding is maybe not as it's interesting. I want to see names. I want to see what you guys think at home. We're going to touch on the Chile finals, and we've also got, well, there's some massive news at the moment which concerns me and Mr. Van Bellen. Now, I didn't want to bring this up, but
we're gay.
It's massive news, and we've got a big decision to make. And I don't know if we should ask the audience, because I think it's probably about time. Okay, so let me set the scene. There's a lot of people doing it right now. We are prime candidates for what I'm about to suggest. It's not cheap, but it could introduce a whole new revenue stream. Robbie Nash apparently has done it. We've seen the meme. There is rumors of other top riders.
I was trying to work out.
Me being a commentator, I know my other commentator, who I've actually never worked with, but does the EFPT, has just had it. Been very, obvious about it. Said it's just changed the game. And then now, as well as a commentator doing it, the other YouTuber who is better than me, bigger channel, has just done it. And me and Paul are literally prime candidates for this. Now, the question is, should me and Mr. Van Bellen, because if we do it, I'm not doing it on my own, go for the hair transplant? Should we do it? Because I've always thought, maybe this was fast. But I'm seeing, when you see these top windsurfers doing it, maybe that's where we need to be going.
We're going to need a lot of beer money, though.
We're going to need more beer money. We're going to have to change the beer money. We're going to have to change everything, because I've got a lot. I've got a fair bit to fill up over here. It's going to be it's a big one. But anyway, that is something that we're deciding on at the moment.
This has been eating you up, hasn't it, over the years, Benny? Because we've seen you in the past with your sexy locks, and that you have to let it go, don't you, mate?
If you want me to go on a bit of a hair, what do I say? Hair journey. Like I've been through it all. I don't know if this is for this podcast, but I've been on the tablets. I can safely say, boys, if you're out there losing your hair, don't go down that route. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. Trust me. It's a scary thing, those tablets. You get a bit of I don't know. Like I said, I'm not sure this is the podcast to discuss that. But if anyone wants to talk to me about hair treatments, like just I've gone with this. But then, like I said, there are some new stuff going in. We did see a meme the other day, and it was, how long ago was this meme? Do you remember? The one from
the Plow King 2000.
Yeah, the Plow King. The Plow King was a legend of all legends. Some people didn't maybe like him so much, but
it's funny, the hair thing, isn't it? I know this is totally off topic, but for anyone out there,
maybe there's something in it. Maybe I always thought like shaved head was faster, but maybe it's not.
No, you think it's slower? You think there's more aerodynamic drag?
I guess we'll find out.
And it dimples like
everyone's doing it.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't mind it anymore. I used to, the good thing is with a shaved head is I actually cannot remember the last time I paid for a haircut. So I probably saved thousands of dollars.
It is very
thousands, and you don't have to worry about all that. It's almost like it's stress free, isn't it?
But okay, anyway. So on the other side we're talking about the best windsurfers in the world. Name me a great windsurfer who's bald. Is there one?
Dione Guadagnino.
He's not bald, is it? Oh, he is bald. Yeah, he is now. He used to have hair. That was all.
Yeah, no, he's.
But when you think about it, there's not many, is there?
I remember Carl Lee shaved his head, but he's not bald, is he? He just shaved his head for a while.
Yeah.
It's a good question, actually, Benny.
Yeah, but that's why I bring it up. Look at this. Well, this was from the Plow King back in the day.
Hold on, let me get rid of this. Oh, there it is. R.I.P. the Plow King. I loved him. He was so good. Robbie Nash, who knew? 1990.
What happened with Robbie Nash? What's it say here? 1979 production, hair full. 1999 production, hair reduced volume, and you can definitely see. I mean, it came back, didn't it? It came back. So it's not a new thing. These guys think they're leading the way, but Robbie Nash, I mean, head of the time.
But maybe it was all the Red Bull, Benny.
Hey, it's like a few guys are stepping in here, Paul. Fred Hayward, Jobster mentions Fred Hayward.
Oh yeah, true. Yeah, Fred. He was fast.
Keith to Ball. Keith to Ball. Keith to Ball. He's hungry. Yeah. I always remember that video. Y2K. He's hungry. Keith to Ball. He's hungry. Doing those weird
question. Yeah.
But there's not many, is there? It's quite scary. It's quite, there's not many. You look at Bjorn Dunkerbeck, full head of hair. Antoine Albo, like fucking head of hair like that. And now Nico Breen, like full head of hair.
Yeah. His hair's coming back, is it?
Coming back. It's coming back.
Yeah, it's coming back in style.
That was just a little thing that I saw on the video recently. I like I said, it's interesting because I'm bald, obviously, and I've been losing my hair for a bit. Took some tablets, had a horrible time on those things, and then prayed that I would come back to, full strength. And luckily, everything's right. Got 2 kids now, so I was quite happy about that. And swore I would never do anything ever again. I was just going to go bald gracefully. And now with all these new stuff's coming up, it's, made me think. But streamline.
No, Benny, I think we all love you the way you are, Benny. So don't worry too much. I'm actually trying to. There is a video. Hold on a sec. Where is it? I'm trying to find it now. Now we've got on this topic. Oh, here we go. If anyone hasn't seen it, let's see if I can actually upload this. How do I do that? Video file. Oh my God, here we go. There it is, Benny. Look, when Benny took his pills. Hold on.
I tell you what, there were the days, like people who don't know, I did used to have long hair, and there is something to be said. Like, I think if you have long hair when you're younger, there's a very good chance of you being bald, because Mr. Paul Van Bellen here did have long hair when he was younger as well. So, I mean, look at us now. Bald as coots. We were ahead of our time, I'm sure. Let's get into it. Come on, let's talk some windsurfing. But it is an interesting thing, which I never really I thought about before. But there's quite a few hair bears out there in windsurfing, and I was thinking also, just staying on the theme, when you're carrying your gear on your head, maybe that's what doesn't help. Maybe that's something to do with it. Anyway,
it rubs it off, you reckon?
Just for people who have joined, we are on the debate of who is the best windsurfer in the world, the best all-rounder, who's the best windsurfer. let us know in the comments who you think. In the women, we have pretty much decided, and I think you guys have at home. Yeah, there was some hair there back in the day.
That's Benny. Little video of Benny back in the day. Look, there he is. It's amazing. I couldn't believe how ripped you were back then, Benny.
You know what? I actually was ripped, funnily enough, but not that ripped. No, but in the women, I think Sarah Keita Offringer, I've already putting her at the moment in this time. There's no questions for me. I think that's done and dusted. In the men, I think it's still out there to be discussed. So what we're going to now talk about is who is the best wave windsurfer in the world. And I think even before Chile, before his world titles, the last years, most people would have had Marsilio Brown straight out the mouth. I think he has proved himself on starboard tack, port tack. It hasn't always translated into results, but the last couple of years, everything has come into place. And he is, he really impressed me in that Chile final. For people who didn't watch it, this is, and I use this word loosely, his bad tack. Like, so starboard tack, Maui, where he lives, where he's done most of his sailing, although that's debatable now because of so many trips on the other tack. But when you watch him on port tack, I was thinking he wasn't as consistent. I don't know why I had that wave riding, but he was stomping everything. In that final, he was stomping everything. And it was impressive to see. I've got to say, Mark Paré as well was stomping everything. And it was a real great battle. There was 4 riders in the final, but there was 2 riders going for that win. And then the other 2 riders were kind of fighting it out. Obviously, the other 2 riders, Camille Dubin and Baptiste Clarec, are both injured, which was amazing to see them even make the final. And they swapped from Matanzas, which I think might have suited them better, to Tropicana. And I think when you're injured and looking at that wave, and we spoke to Finn and Lucas about this, and I've spoke to Mark, and they said to draw lines at Tropicana, you really got to put the effort in. It's a different way of riding. And I think that maybe played into the hands of the other 2, Brown and Mark. So it was a really interesting final. Did you watch it, Paul?
Yeah, no, I did. I was. It was a shame because I would have. It all happened all so quick, didn't it? It started, and before you knew it was over. And I would have loved to have seen more heats out at Topacama. But yeah, Brasinho and Paré were definitely the deserved 1 and 2. I think that they were the standouts.
Questions. What predictions did you make on the previous video?
Yeah,
we all made predictions.
Yeah, I think I said that my prediction was Baptiste is first, because I just was trying to do something a bit different. But I think Baptiste just didn't quite have the same make rate or whatever as the other guys. They're just so surgical, and you know what I mean, like just so very just have high make rate. So I said Camille was in 4th, so that was correct. I think you said Camille was going to be 4th.
I think
Did you get it right? Oh, you said Mark Paré was going to win, didn't you?
Well, I think on my unofficial judges sheet, I got it right because I had Mark Paré winning. But don't get me wrong. And people will say, "Are you biased?" And I am biased because he's a sim rider and he's a good friend as well. But I was trying to be as objective as possible and look at that final. And I thought personally, I know we didn't see it all because the live stream was at Topacama, so it was not easy to watch. It was kind of a bit broken up. Again, I spoke to Mark afterwards, and he was a bit disappointed with his first wave. He said he had 3 sick proper hits. So when he says that, underlip, real, killing it, and then a goiter on the end, and it scored a 6. And then he had the wave towards the end, which I think scored an 8.8 or an 8.9. And that was a big aerial over a section up into kind of like a turn to slow down, then a turn in the pocket, and then straight back up into an aerial, and then finish with a goiter. Me personally, I'm like, well, what else can you do? That's got everything on it for me. That could have been a 10, could have been a 9.5. I think it deserved more than it got. And then I watched Brasinho's waves, which were also epic, But then for me, there was one wave which, again, when you look at it from the beach, it might have looked different, but from the drone, it looked quite a fat wave. They even said it on the commentary, but it was an amazing wave. It was a good size, and it run down the point, and he turned on it, but there was no jeopardy. There was no like risk because it was all quite safe until the big goiter at the end, which was pretty impressive. It was a proper section. He landed it right on it and then went in and went down the wave again. Didn't get any proper turns after that because the wave didn't offer that. And again, did he ride that wave as good as anyone could? Yes. But I would say the wave didn't give him the opportunity to take it up. And I thought that, you know, it came down to 0.3 for the win. And I think if I'd have been judging, I probably would have had Paré just ahead. But it was so close. And I can understand why someone, and maybe where they're viewing it from is also different. So very difficult to, you know, I'm not calling any judges out or anything like that. I'm not saying Marsilio didn't sail good. I think everything was good, but it was just super close. Be interested to see what you guys thought as well. At home, did you watch the final? What did you think of the results? I think you can't argue with them, but I think when it's that close, there will be difference of opinion. I think that's just normal when it's that close. Oh, there you go. There's the results.
Yeah. And obviously Mark, yeah, 0.3 overall. Mark's best wave was a bit of a standout, but obviously the backup just wasn't enough to get him through.
Well, what is interesting is I spoke to Emilio, who is PWA judge, was over in Chile, and he is notorious for being stingy. You know, doesn't give out big points, and he told me he went for 9.5 on Paré's wave. So there is other judges on that panel who are, let's say, stingier than Emilio, which is quite impressive, you know. So I thought if Emilio gave it a 9.5, that made me kind of justified in my head why I would give it a 10, because usually I'm a little bit more than what Emilio gives. So that was kind of interesting as well. But again, this is nothing to say that I thought it was like, oh, someone's been robbed. Not at all. I just thought, for me, maybe Mark just edged it because of that wave had so much variety on it. And I liked it. But again, someone could watch the wave from Zinio. It was much bigger. It was really clean, and he nailed this big goiter at the end, and you know, carried on after the goiter. It wasn't like an end section finish. He didn't do much after it, but still, he was still in the middle of the section, which I thought was pretty impressive as well. And you know, Baptiste was going freaking crazy. He must have took about 20 waves and just, you know, going crazy. And then it looked like Camille was being a bit more reserved. Maybe his toe, you know, like I said to you for the predictions, like maybe that pain after doing all that work the days before is going to be a lot more. And doing one heat is always harder. Once you get a run together, it kind of gets better.
Yeah, he didn't seem to be in the same sort of flow that we're used to seeing Camille, isn't it? He just seemed like he was sort of struggling a little bit to get there. That was my impression of that anyway. But that was interesting commentary. You know, you're just saying about Mark is pretty detailed. I thought the other thing that was interesting about this whole event, and maybe a few people commented on the live stream and just amongst themselves, but you know, is this whole the judging scores, and you know, the judges really struggling to give anything much more than an 8 or 7 or 8. You know, like some waves during the whole competition where you just think, well, what else could they really do? And then they get like an 8, 8.5, and you think, you know, maybe just throw out a 9.5 or a 10 here and there, just to, you know, to stretch those scoring out. I know it's tricky, but I think that was also something that's it's not just this event. It's been the thing for a while, hasn't it, with events? So I think
it just feels like it's impossible to get a 10. Like, and
exactly. What do you have to do?
Yeah, you can't be handing out 10s willy-nilly, but I think in a media sense, like, it would be nice to say, oh, this wave scored a 10. Like, you know, let's say that wave from Paré, I think, was the highest scoring wave of the competition. It was like an 8.83. So it still didn't even get into the 9s. And you're like, everything was kind of perfect from start to finish. And then the problem is with waves, and I've heard people say this before, they said, yeah, but he could have done a tacker on the end, or he could have had a longer wave. And you're like, well, okay, but how long's a piece of string? It's like, there's got to be like, just because he gets a 10 for that wave doesn't mean Brasilio couldn't get a 10 for another wave, or Baptiste. It's like, you know, once you get to the top level, the wave might be worth a 10.5, but if it only goes up to 10, you just give max. You know, that's it. Like, I don't think there's anything wrong if 2 people get a 10 if they deserve it and ride the wave as good as they can. And because we've got to remember, these are the best guys in the world, in some of the best conditions in the world, and they do everything perfect. So then you're like, well, if they're not scoring a 10, what is a 10? You know, like there's got to be a point where a 10 happens. Like what is a 10? It's a perfect wave. So what is a perfect wave? It's okay. The wave has to be decent. Yeah. And then you have to execute everything in that wave. And that's what I saw. And that's kind of why I was thinking, well, surely if we're going to give out a 10, that's a 10, you know, or it's some crazy maneuver off a crazy section, which had so much risk. That could be a 10 as well. I do think, like you say, we need to stretch that scale.
Lionel's saying not enough turns to get a 10.
But again, where you say not enough turns, if it's
how many?
It's one big aerial over a section, then it's a turn, which is like not a critical turn, but then a proper turn in the section, like proper, and then straight back up to get in that aerial, and then a goiter. It's like that's got a goiter, it's got an aerial, it's got a quick aerial for one, it's got a proper turn. You're like, well, if you keep saying we need more, you're not going to get it, because the chances are that wave just doesn't exist. Like with jumping, if you do the perfect stall double, it's like, okay, there's a 10. And it happens like that. So wave riding is always going to be behind jumping, which is a shame. And this, when I grew up, when I was like early 2000s, there was a times factor in the jumping versus the wave riding, because the wave riding was always notoriously lower, but they knew it was hard and they couldn't work out how to up the score on the wave riding, because they're like, well, that's not a 10. But the wave riding was back then times by 3. So multiple of 3, the wave, and then the jumping was a multiple of 2. So then the wave riding actually counted for more. So if you got a 6, it ended up being an 18, you know, and if you had a 6 jump, it would be a 12. So actually your benefit was to do good in the wave riding, which is why I almost did, well, not almost, it's why I was doing better in my earlier years, because I was good at wave riding, you know. And so there was but it is harder for the audience to understand, which is why they don't do it now. But it is interesting. It is interesting.
Yeah, no, and if we compare it to surfing, I mean, you've probably seen quite a few surf comps, but they throw out 10s, you know, relatively. Yeah. I mean, you know, not every necessary or every competition, but there's certainly events I can think of in Tahiti or Pipeline, or someone pulls into a big barrel, they just pull in, they come out, it's a 10. You know, what else can you do? They just pull into a big barrel, and I would actually argue that doing an excellent wave on a windsurfer, there's a lot more technicalities, because you have to, you know, as you said, do the turns, do the goiters, do this, do that, and it's rather than just do one thing. So, you know, judges, if you listen,
like for people who don't watch much competition, there's got to be risk. This is, and again, this is maybe controversial. I don't know, because this is not me having a go at Brown. Like, I think he deserved the win as much as Mark did, but I thought it was very close. But if I'm being like, okay, I'm going to look at that wave, I'd be interested, because I only saw it from the drone, and a drone has an amazing way of, sometimes if it's too high, making the wave look flatter than it is. So maybe my view of that wave isn't the same as the judges see it. They just see it as a big wall. But when you watch it from the drone, the wave looks, and again, Caro says it on the commentary, oh, the wave looks fat. So the first couple of turns, you can't do anything, because there isn't a really steep wall, because the bigger waves didn't seem to be walling up. The smaller ones did. And definitely towards the beginning of the heat, they were walling up and better. So I thought that was interesting, because you're like, well, okay, it's an amazing wave. It's a good size. But okay, how many points are you scoring for those turns where there's no risk? And this is always interesting, because I've thought about this when I'm competing. I'm like, okay, I could get a bigger wave, and I've seen it happen so many times. I mean, how many heats have I commentated on? And you're like, okay, the wave's bigger. It's hard not to give the guys or the girls the points, but you're like, there's no risk. All the points were in the selection of a nice, clean wave, but there's no risk. So you're like, okay. And this is why I can't be a judge. I'm a better commentator than a judge. Again, this is not me having a go at judging. I think it's a really, really difficult job, and I would hate to do it. I've done it a few times, and it is a mind bender. Like, if you're not the right, you've got to make decision really quickly and be confident and stick with it. I overthink things too much. So I am not a great judge, but I can still dissect something and look at something, but I'm not saying I could do a better job in the moment. This is afterwards, you know, with slow-mo, with checking the video and all this. So it's just interesting because I thought, well, there wasn't much risk, but then the goiter, loads of risk, but he had to do that to make that wave big. It's just interesting. I think it's a really interesting talking point. And I think what you said before with the scores being very tight in the middle does cause problems. And it's really difficult. Once you start that scale, it's very difficult to open it up during a competition because your brain has already set your levels of what they are. So some heats will look very close, which they are very close in terms of points, but how you get those points is very hard. So does it matter? It kind of not. Well, if the judges are you know, they can replicate their point system, because if a heat is 0.5 close, you're like, oh, that's really close. But if it's really hard to get the difference between a 5.5 and a 6, that half a point is massive. So even though it looks close, if it's hard to get that half a point, which it was in all the competitions, then in theory, maybe it's not a problem. The problem is when there's like an outlier, and this causes the problem.
Hey, do you actually remember any wave score that got a 10?
No.
I mean,
I can. Yeah, I can. Mussolini in Silt, big 360. There's been maybe one in Tenerife. I can remember a few, but it's not been something that, you know, we see a lot of. And those 10s were kind of a long time ago. You know, it's recently. Yeah. I can't remember one recently, if I'm honest with you.
Yeah. Oh well, if any judges are listening, or maybe it's something to think about.
Should we touch on the other ones? Women's final.
Yeah. So
I mean, Jane Seaman, that is amazing. And just for people who don't know, at the moment, with one 5-star event, that is the world rankings right now. Maybe we should just run down the top 20 in the men before we go into the women, just to kind of refresh your minds of basically where everyone has ended up after this competition, because that effectively is the main result. Yes, there's been some 4-stars. They will count on the, you know, there's a rolling ranking, but with the, you know, the ins and outs at the PWA and things changing, a lot of stuff is not updated like it was when Rich Page was there, because there has been a change. So there's a changeover period which is happening now. Again, I can't give you any information on that. I don't work with the PWA, but I can see, you know, which would have been already updated. Now it hasn't been updated. So I guess we're going to have to wait for that. But if we look at Chile, 5-star event, this is the main one counting. We look at the results. I think we can start, in 29th position? Just have a quick rundown. So I'm just looking at it. Yeah, 25th. Just the names that stand out. Thomas Traversa in 25th. Wow. I mean, that guy is one of the all-time wave sailing legends. Looking at the results from Chile.
Oh, I see the results. Sorry, I thought we were looking at the rankings here.
Because that kind of is the ranking for 2025. If we, you know, the rolling ranking is a little bit different. But if we look at just who has kicked off 2025, so Thomas Traversa, I'd say he's going to be a bit gutted with that, but we know, like, Thomas Traversa's absolute charger, and we saw, you know, if you watch the live stream, you'll understand how difficult it looked in Chile to, you know, there was some really tricky heats. You know, Paré, who obviously went on to finish second, he had some scares in the early rounds, no doubt about it. You know,
have you got the screen there that you can share?
Yeah, I'll put it on. I'm just going to run through it and try and find out, you know, if there's any kind of ones that you think, oh, that was kind of interesting. Didn't see that happening.
while you're pulling that up, I'm going to jump. So shout out to Alfie for doing a great job covering the BWA South Wales event. It was a lot of fun, and that really came across.
No, that was
done,
good.
Alfie.
They're doing really good. Like Willie over in the UK is took on the BWA this year. He's got a son that's competing and another one coming up. And they're putting a fair bit of effort in. Everyone's stepping up. You know, we had amazing competition in Cornwall. They just had one in South Wales. There's, you know, a lot of stuff going on. And I was part of those early BWA events, which were absolutely epic. And, you know, getting Alfie in to do the videos, I think makes a big difference to projecting what's happening and showing people what's happening at these events. And then obviously more people can join in. So if you haven't seen that video, it's on the main Windsurfing TV channel. It's like a 25-minute video. You see all the characters of the tour. It hasn't got, you know, some of the guys that are leading the tour because it's not, you know, like a 5-star in the UK thing, but it's got a lot of the up and coming guys, and Ben Page, who's one of the top guys anyway. You know, it sounds like you'll watch it, you'll understand it, but really fun to see a few guys coming back that haven't done it for a while as well, which is pretty fun. And they had some good conditions. It's nice to see, you know, different places.
And this is the results, okay, from Chile?
Yeah, results. So Thomas Traversa down in 25th. We got Alessio Stilrich down in 25th. Miguel Chapuis, you know, Antoine Rina. But, you know, these guys, Miguel, let's say, you know, Anthony for sure is more freestyle background, but very good in the way. He's had some good results. But if you look at Miguel Chapuis, Alessio Stilrich, Thomas Traversa, these guys can be in the top 5, you know, and they're back in 25th. And then you look at the strength in depth here. 17th, Antoine Martin, Takuma Sugi, Jules Dinal, Benjamin Fabris. We've got Moritz Malk. It's interesting actually why they've got a 7. It seems like they got too many people in 17th, because when you have 4-man heats, was it 4-man heats or man on man? Oh, it was man on man, wasn't it?
It was 4-man heats, wasn't it? And top 2 went through.
So you shouldn't have this many 17ths, should you? Because you'd give a third and a fourth. You'd have a third and a fourth in the heat. Maybe it is like that. Maybe I need to check my stuff. But yeah, no, maybe you're right. No, maybe it is. Yeah, because there was 8. Okay. Yeah, but I'm just looking at that. Look at that in 17th. Look at the names you got there: Antoine Martin, Takuma Sugi, Jules Dinal, Benjamin Fabry, Moritz Malk, Robbie Swift, Vicente Gonzalez, and Arthur Rukin.
Now, Benny, sorry, I just remembered, because the seeding round, the redemption round had 4, but then the round 8, it actually had 3-person heats. Remember, there was a round with 3 before the quarterfinals. Yeah. And then the top 2 went through and the bottom 1 exited, and there was 8 of those heats.
Okay, makes sense. That makes sense, because then there's 4 13ths. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. But you, like I said, some big names there, and some good showings from the locals to get up there. And then you've got in 13th place Liam Dunkerbeck, Dieter van der Eycken, Takara Ishii, and Diego Fabris. So from what I can understand, Diego Fabris was the highest placed local, just outside the top 10. Obviously, Alex Vargas injured, so couldn't compete, and he was a standout the year before. So it'd be interesting to see what he's going to be up to when he comes back into it. And then we got inside the top 10, Adam Varchol. Really good performance from him. He was unlucky, actually, to just miss out on going to the next one. I think he nearly ended up in the top 5. So he was unlucky there, because I think he lost out like with a buzzer beater from Baptiste Clarec or someone. Who was it? Someone had him right on the end. Julian Salmon, I thought he looked really good in some of the heats, just didn't quite get it together in his last one. Marino Gill, I think he had a bit of a buzzer beater on one, came back from the dead. And then Morgan Nareau, a lot of people tipping him, me included, from the boys that are over there, to get further. But yeah, ended up 9th in the end. And then coming inside the top 7, we got Bernd Rodiger in 7th place, Philip Costa in 7th place. I thought those two had moments of looking like, you know, they could be in the final, could win the event, no problem about it. And that just goes to show how tight it was. It was super tight. Philip Costa, when the wind dropped, was when his wheels came off his wagon. When there was wind, he looked like he was just smashing out everything. and it would have been interesting to see that. And then top 5, Federico Mauricio. Is that his best result on a full-blown 5-star? I think it might be. He was unlucky not to make the final.
Pretty
really
much.
Really good performance from him. You know, I met him in Pozo when he first got there, and he was, you know, basically learning how to backloop and how to sail. And I did a little interview with him for Windsurfing TV at the time. I said, "Oh, we just follow you, see how you go." I should find that out. I keep saying I will do one day. I will. But you know, to go and see what he's doing now and the level he's pushing on both tacks is really impressive. Really impressive. And he looked good. He looked really good in the heats. I thought he had a really good, strong mentality. You could see his game plan looked really good, and he was just smashing it out. I thought it was really impressive. Victor Fernandez, you know, doing what Victor does, just really consistent, but unfortunately not just making the final. And then the 4 finalists, Camille Juban, Baptiste Clarec, Marc Paré, and Marcilio Brown. Brown, obviously 2 times in the last 2 years been the world champion, and now leading basically the 5-star events. Let's say, if obviously everything else finishes, then maybe some other events come into it, but at the moment he is leading that men's world ranking.
Yeah, no, the depth of field in the men's is pretty crazy at the moment, isn't it? It's there's a lot of talent in that field. And it's cool. It's cool because, you know, you see an event and it is actually fairly up in the air a lot of the time with who's going to get through. It makes it really exciting. Marcilio is looking pretty. Yeah.
No, so I'm going to say what I've been thinking is, I think because we've had more events like 4-star events, 3-star events, and other events, it's give other people or other riders chance to show off. So then you have more riders doing better. So then your like appreciation of them at their level goes up somehow. I know that sounds weird, but when you've only got a couple of comps and it's like it was Pozo and Sil, some of these riders maybe don't get looked at as doing their thing. But when you've got, you know, Fiji, suddenly Baptiste is like, you know, if we never had Fiji and we didn't have these competitions where Baptiste can shine, you might not think anything of it. But having those other competitions, you know, Bern obviously winning Cape Verde and stuff like this, and Puerto Rico, everyone starts to get all these results. And so now when you look down the field, you know everybody. You're just like, wow. He's done this. He's done this. He beat him, because they've had more opportunity to cause problems. And I know what it's like when you're trying to push through. If you don't have the opportunity, it's impossible. You go to Pozo, you have one heat against Costa, and you're like, okay, see you later, mate.
Yeah.
But they might be a great rider and might just give up after a couple of years of that. Whereas now with all these competitions, I think the one thing, you know, that's come really good out of this collaboration with the IWT is forgetting, you know, the ins and the outs and the small details about this star system. It's just doing it, you know, just doing it. We're going to do it and we're going to fix the problems afterwards, which there's always going to be a few problems. And I think sometimes you can overthink it like I would. I'd want it to be perfect. But I think we've definitely gained something within windsurfing, whereas just doing it and then adjusting afterwards, because otherwise it just wouldn't happen. We've talked about this star system for years and years and years on the PWA, and it never happened. You know, for lots of different reasons. There's no blame attached to this. It just hasn't happened because it wasn't perfect, or it couldn't be implemented without this and this. And now it's happening. You can see the knock-on effect. I see it in the UK. I see it in Australia. You see it in all these places where people they feel like, oh, we can be a 3-star event. Oh, we can be they can build up. And I think this was really important. Again, everyone's talked about this for years. It just never happened. So I think this is really good to see. And I think we're benefiting from that. I think what's going to have to happen, I know we're talking about wave sailing now, but what's going to have to happen is that's going to have to happen in the racing as well. There has to be some global rolling ranking star system which makes you feel part of this whole big world plan, because this is what's going to motivate all those smaller organizers and stuff to get things going. And it does make a difference. Like, what's weird, just maybe a little bit off topic, but I've got this GPS speed challenge at the moment. Just for example, there's a challenge every month. People do stuff. People have joined the group, and I've just seen today, I don't think they'll mind me saying on the WhatsApp group, people are going, oh, Ben, I've just bought this board for this challenge. Oh, I've just bought this board for this challenge. And they've gone out, bought a secondhand slalom board and gone, you know what? I want to get involved. And this is the same with, competitions like this. These mini little community competitions make a massive difference to selling stuff.
Well, also, if I can put my hat on as the event organizer of this wave rally event, I mean, I'm curious what you think about this, but you've got the 5-star, which is the cream of the crop, best event and the whole thing and prize money. But for an event like that I did with the wave rally, which is not a typical slalom event, and you're not even using slalom gear, but why couldn't that at least have some, like you could call that a 1-star event? You know what I mean? Like it's almost like a novelty thing, but the people that go in it actually means something, and then people, the purists would go, oh, but it's not slalom, but it's like, yeah, but it's not going to win you a world title winning that. It's not really going to make that much difference. However, it's a feeder system. It just feeds into it all. You know what I mean? Why limit? Yeah, don't you think? I mean, and because the thing is, there'd be so many of these kind of events that could pop up around the world, just funny little novelty things that could all just count for something. And then you see your name on the leaderboard, and that kind of, gets you interested and excited. And
it's like when you see that rolling ranking now, everyone who enters one of these competitions, whether it's a 1-star, 2-star, 3-star, it adds to this list of people on the world ranking.
Yeah.
So now when you see a guy at the top of the world ranking and you scroll down, you're like, oh my God, I'm first out of this many people in the world. And this also has this knock-on effect. I think like this has for me been the best thing that's come out of it. Has everything been perfect? No. Has it been executed as I would have done it? Probably not at all. I think there's been some things which I've not been too happy with, but I think the main thing that I think has come out of it is this system, and this, I can see the massive benefit in this happening, and I think it has to happen with slalom. Has to happen. It has to. It's not, I know the PWA have been trying to work with the IFCA people, and there is some sort of fight back there for some whatever reason. And I was speaking to Arnon Dagan yesterday, and he was basically saying a few things about how it's going to happen. So we'll see. We have to watch this space, but it will be, I think there will be something happening. I think.
Because I would have thought the potential for racing is far beyond waves, because I mean, wave sailing is a, there's only certain spots you can do it in, but with racing you can go to lakes, rivers, oceans. Like there's so many potential spots that you can hold a windsurf race in, isn't there? Far beyond.
I mean, the only problem is, the difficulty is the boats, isn't it, with racing?
Boat? Oh, yeah. What do you mean? Like just a boat in the way? Or?
Well, like not every place is perfect. Like you have in Coros, where you can leave from the beach, end up at the beach. You only need one buoy or something. A lot of it is racing out to sea, and this is when it becomes a bit more tricky. But at the same time, there's sailing clubs, and that's what needs to be involved with the whole system, I think.
Yeah, but what I mean is, there's probably more potential numbers in racing than there will be in waves. Surely, there's a lot more people that just windsurf on flatter water.
Or the master blast.
You go to Europe and the lakes and stuff.
I think what you were saying about
look at the Defi. Look at the Defi.
1-star in the wave rally. Having like a novelty thing, and it's like, I think those kind of master blaster slalom events where you don't need all the high-tech gear at first, because what you want to do, it's like anything, isn't it? You're going to feed people in with actually not a high entry cost, like you've done with the wave rally. It's like, use your own wave gear, but we don't want to like make it so the guy with the best gear wins straight away. But then in certain competitions, yes, you do have to have better gear, like in motor racing, like in any other, sport. The higher you get up the ladder, yes, there will be a barrier to entry of gear. But what we need to offer down that bottom end is you can use what you like.
Yeah. I mean, what about Defi? Why is there no points for that? Like, who shouldn't?
Exactly. But this is exactly what needs to happen. Everyone, and I think they are, I'm not taking any credit for this, nothing to do with me. I'm pretty sure behind the scenes, this is what the guys at the PWA, and again, I don't know exactly what it's, but that's what they've been trying to work on. And I think now they're seeing what's happened with the IWT. you know, and the PWA and this ranking and the stars, and they're feeling the kind of push and the energy. I think the racing, this could be the kick up the ass they've needed, because the problem is with racing, it's racing. So there's rules and there's lots of things that need to be ticked boxes and everything. But I kind of say, as we've seen it with the wave sailing, just do it, make it happen. And then we've got to work it out. Yes, at the top end, you have to be very specific. You're not handing out a world title, you know, if someone enters some 2-star event. But whatever happens is, it's got to start. There's got to be a start, you know, and that should be the same with speed sailing. We've got to look at this. It's not a new phenomenon. You know, it's been happening in every other sport for years, but the infrastructure and who organizes it, that's always the problem. Like, who takes on the admin role? And these are the things that have always been like the point where they're like, well, where the money goes to get that guy to do all that stuff. And this has always been the problem. But I think the results speak for itself.
Yeah, but I think, you know, obviously going back to the idea of just having like a 1-starry event, say for example this wave rally, obviously it's not going to hinge on any world title, and if you win it, it's probably not going to make much difference at all to anything. But it's just just getting that inclusivity, and also I think Neil's what did he say? He said here, here he says here, more incentives for people to join smaller events. I think you with windsurfing, you want to free up the anywhere that's at the base level of the sport to feed up. You know what I mean? At the moment, it feels like we've got this elite level, and there's a big gap between that and just everybody else. And you think, how could I even aspire to get there at all? Because it just seems 100%. Like this huge step. Yeah, it's not. It's like, and then look, 99% of people won't even aspire to go onto a PWA level anyway. You know what I mean? But they might aspire to join their local race in their area, obviously. You know, something like that, or in their country.
No, but it has to start. You know, and like I said, I know this is not a new conversation, but I think spurred on by the PWA IWT and how the rankings and the stars are working. Again, I don't know the ins and the outs and stuff. I'm just looking at it from outside, looking in, thinking it feels healthy. It feels, and I can feel organizers are more motivated to kind of get on board with this type of thing. So I think, like I said, I see it. I think it has to go that way. It's not even a question. Because we can see what's happened to the national events at the moment, you know, and there needs to be a push. You know, don't get me wrong. I do like foiling. People get it wrong. I don't like foiling. I like foiling, but I do think that the fin shouldn't be dismissed. You know, it really is much easier, plug and play, cheaper. You can literally, like I said, these guys on this WhatsApp group, they've just gone out and bought an old, you know, starboard, slalom board, and they're good to go. GPS, like perfect, you know, get some involved. And, you know, and it will happen with that in foiling in years and years when everything comes down. But at the moment, it's so specific if you have the right foil. Whereas with windsurfing, we kind of plateaued with the slalom stuff. Yes, a new board is probably better, crisper, nicer, good looking, but you're not totally out of the picture if you have a 5-year-old board or a 6-year-old board. You know, you're still in the game. And this is really important to boost all that stuff. That's what I think anyway. I mean, like I said.
Before we totally lose track, should we just quickly finish off with Chile with the women? Because we didn't talk about that. And I'll just bring up that. Hold on a second. I have to lose this.
So to just round out the men, no one got the predictions right. I got 4th, 3rd right, but I got Mark Paré and Brasunio the wrong way round. And I think that was the same with the other boys as well, Finn and Lucas. In the women, I got 3 in exactly the right order. The problem is I had Jane finishing 4th and she won. But I had Alexia, Sarah Keita, and Maria in the right order. But Jane kind of ripped me. And the reason I didn't go with Jane is the year before I had her down for the win and she let me down. So I was like, no, I'm not
your excuse
again. But she stepped up. Did you watch the final? What did you think?
Yeah. No, I think with Jane as well, it definitely was a boost to her chances going to Topakama versus Matanzas, because Topacama is fairly similar to a break that we have in WA that she sails a lot. And I think that just that familiarity would have helped her a lot. So it might have been a bit of a, I mean, I'm not saying she might have still won at Matanzas, but I think going to Topacama for that final certainly played in Jane's advantage as well. So, and she took it. I think it's, you know, you don't normally ask a woman her age, you know, but I think Jane, well, she's in her early 50s, right? 52, 53. Well, I don't know exactly.
You can just do the math. She was competing on the PWA back in the 90s, wasn't she?
Exactly. She's been around for a hell of a long time. So if you think about it, that is a amazing achievement. I mean, look, 50 is the new 30, whatever, 50 is 40. It's not, you know, there's not, but still, it's a physical sport. And I mean, it's almost like the Kelly Slater of surfing, you know, he's still winning things and he's 50. So well done to Jane, you know, really showing that you can really go a long way. Like you can have you know, you can be in your 50s and still be mixing it right up there at the top. That's pretty cool. Pretty cool.
Yeah, no, it was good. I thought it was, again, another difficult one. You know, Alexia, Sarah, and Jane, it was pretty close, I thought. Like, it really depended on how you looked at those waves and what you... Because I thought Sarah, she finished third, but she could have easily won. When you see the style she has in the wave and how much aggression she had and the technique, you know, you could say she was underscored on a few waves in my, again, non-judging, looking from the sideline experience. And we don't see the same as the judges see. I thought Jane went for it big time. And, you know, that definitely paid off because she had a couple of runners. She had some really good wave selection as well. And Alexia as well, really good style. So I think those three also could have been mixed up, you know, and like all these competitions, they usually come down to wave selection a lot of the time. You know, you've got to have a lot of skill. You've got to have a bit of luck as well, because sometimes, you know, you can never tell what's going to happen out there. You know, if you're on the inside and the wave comes through, you can only minimize the chance of your opponents getting it by positionally strategically. But at some point, you've got to ride a wave. So if you ride a wave and you're on the inside and they pick up the wave of the day, you know, is it luck? Is it skill? I mean, that's for people to decide, I guess. But I thought it was a super, super close final with all those three.
Yeah, I have to admit, I find it a little bit hard to really nitpick the nuances of the heat, just because of also the live stream where it wasn't always super clear. You know, maybe the drone was a bit higher than I would have liked, or the camera was over here, over there. Obviously, tough conditions for those guys having to set up in a desert location on the drop of a hat. But because of that, I did find it a little bit hard to really nitpick the scores. You know what I mean? It's a bit hard to fully understand, what was going
again,
on.
From my point of view, when they're in a tricky position like that, it's always nice if they record it, because there was some dropouts, obviously, because they're in the middle of nowhere. So, you know, that's to be understandable. But if they record it, then at least we could have it in full HD and not dropping out. We could watch it afterwards, you know, because you're still filming it anyway, but they just need to record it. So that would have been kind of cool to see as well. But really good. I mean, really interesting, really cool. Also Masters as well. Like, we got to mention like Sarah Kenyon and Peter Kenyon, obviously from Geraldton.
Yeah, let's see if I can pull that up. We've got Masters here. I mean, Peter Kenyon, what a legend. You know, he's a local. Yeah, he's had a great few months because well, he's from Geraldton and I sail with him all the time. You know, he's a handy sailor.
Do you now think of him as better? Are you now like going to the beach and like, oh my god?
Well,
there's Peter Kenyon.
I've already was when he beat Jager and Margie's. I was you know, I was puffing him up a bit when I saw him, but now when he comes back, he's going to have a massive head on him. So I have to be careful he doesn't get too ahead of. But no, I think it's. Peter's, again, I mean, well, he's a master. Like, is the Masters, is it 45 or is it 40 plus, or what's the age?
45.
Masters. 45, yeah, okay. Well, Peter's in his early 50s as well, but he's on the water a lot at Geraldton. Most people wouldn't even know of him because he's hardly done any of these comps. But I'll be honest, I didn't expect him to necessarily win it, but you know, you never know. Anything's possible. But the fact that he did, I think, is just legendary, and it also shows it wasn't a fluke that he did so well in Margaret's and then did so well here. So you know, he maybe he's going to join the whole tour now.
It looked close though. Like if I looked at all the pro juniors and I looked at the girls and I looked at the masters, and if you look at like how the results going through, you know, there was a lot of guys that had the potential to win it when you look at the scores in the semifinals and stuff like this. So it just shows that it's, you know, that's when it wasn't like someone's just a runaway winner. It was like they delivered in the final. And I always like it when it's like that. You know, it's really close, especially in the juniors as well. But Felipe, I think he actually was one of the main organizers of the event. I could be wrong. So finishing third, you know, top sailor as well. Oh, no, I've seen him. He's done quite a few of the IWT events more recently. So he's obviously going for that Masters world title. So yeah, good. And yeah, Peter Kenyon, like what a legend, taking out Jaeger in Margie's and then winning in Chile. And then his daughter was also smashing it.
Yeah, and also just before we leave Peter, he actually came third in overall in wave rally as well. So he's he's handy. You know, he's fast on the wave gear.
Best
so he does it all.
In the world.
Well, that's it. He's the best master.
Oh, there we go. We've lost Mr. Paul Van Bellen, but apparently he's the best master. He's gone. Well, hopefully he's gone and I'm still here. Like, well, at least maybe I think I'm still here. So yeah, we are just talking about Chile. We'll probably try and get him back. I'm not sure where he's disappeared to. Oh, there he is.
So I actually went to go back on the Chile thing and I pushed back on the actual stream itself. All right, I'm back in business. So, and the pro junior girls, hold on a second. Bear with me. Because I've lost that now. Bear with me, guys. Share screen. So this one here, Benny, this the scores here don't seem to be correct.
No, because they were all individual finals from what I can understand.
Oh, okay.
It's just because of the system they've got, they can't show it like that. So I'm pretty sure what that result is basically the accumulation of the rounds gone before. So it's basically they've added up the points, and Alexia won because she won two of the event. You know, maybe they had two finals or something like this.
Okay, cool. Oh, well, Alexia, she's obviously a star in the making.
She's an absolute ripper. Maria Morales as well. It's a little bit more hot and cold, but she's definitely got, you know, some big moves on her and some, you know, I don't like saying this about the pro girl, but she's got some balls on her, you know, going for doubles in Pozo and stuff like that. So, you know, she's a bit of a hell girl. And then, you know, Sarah Kenyon getting up there in third ahead of some sort of, you know, pretty much established PWA riders, you know. Lisa Vermeister has been talked about a lot before the competition in Chile. Everyone's saying she was riding well. And Solda Greek, she looks like she's actually got taller, which I don't know how that's possible. But she won the juniors, but in the pro juniors, down in 5th place. I'm sure she would have wanted to be a bit higher up than that. But Sarah Kenyon, that's a great result on the podium.
Yeah. And Sarah, you know, she's only 16 or whatever. And really, she's only been pushing hard probably in the last 2 years or 2-3 years, because when I first got to Geraldton 4 years ago, I remember meeting her down the beach and she couldn't, I mean, I can't remember exactly, but I don't even think she could jibe. She was learning to water start. She was, you know, like just kind of in that sort of intermediate level or whatever you want. Fast forward a few years and she goes out in literally double mast Margies. Like most people would be shitting themselves. Yeah. And here's a young girl who was just learning a water start a few years ago, just goes out. And so I'm really curious to see how she goes. You know, it's Pete obviously is a mega keen windsurfer. That's her dad. And he's been pushing her. He's like, come on, Sarah, get into it. Obviously he needs a bit of a kick up the ass, as you do with teenagers sometimes.
Yeah.
But I dare say after Sarah's experience in Chile, she'll probably be newly motivated to see where she can go with all this, because yeah. So anyway, we'll see with her. But
great.
the main thing is she's enjoying it. You know, it's she goes out and she, you know, I think that's the main thing with all this, isn't it? If you're not enjoying it, well, you're going to drop out at some point. But it's just great to see this new breed of women coming through, really enjoying it, and it's cool actually, isn't it? Like there is actually a bit of a there's a new wave of people, and it's just great to see more women into it, because that's probably the weak point of windsurfing is the female participation in some of these things. So to see all these new faces and stuff is cool. Yeah,
I mean, if you're a woman out there and you want to get, this is maybe, I don't know if this is going to come out right, but if I'm a woman, I'm going to put it that way. Let's say I'm a woman.
If you identify as one,
single woman in my 30s, I tell you what, windsurfing is a hell of a sport to get into, isn't it? When you think about it, like, like the sport itself is amazing. So that's like tick. And then you've got all these healthy, quote, slightly healthy men playing around. They've got, you know.
Which one would you fancy, Benny?
Got a bit of money. Who would I go for? Yeah. Ooh. There's a lot to choose from. That's what I'm saying.
I know who you'd go for, but you'd go for Ben because of his hair, wouldn't you?
I might do. Yeah. I don't know if I could take the attitude. Like, he's a bit sassy for me. I don't know if I could take it.
No, you go for Ricardo.
Yeah, I'd probably go for a more German, less emotional. I don't think I could handle Ricardo's temperament. I'm a bit feisty myself, so I'd need someone who's a bit more planted.
You're like the more dominant one.
Maybe a Costa, just quiet but strong type.
Just takes orders.
Exactly. A Victor Fernandez, that's what I'm going for.
I'm trying to imagine you like coming out, just identifying as a woman, just to I could just see it. You know, the wig comes on, and next thing you know, Betty's just smashing everyone. And
okay, anyway, comment. If you're a bloke and you're watching, if you were a woman, who would you go for? Maybe there's some women watching. I don't think we have many women listening to a podcast. Okay, this is a competition. If you're a woman listening to this podcast, let me know. I genuinely don't think there is one woman listening to this podcast. I just can't imagine.
Why not? How can they not?
There's no way. There's a woman out there who's got enough time to listen to us two chopping on. The only people listening to us is people like us. I just don't believe it. I'm willing to be proved wrong. So I'm looking at the comments. Waiting.
But Benny, do you think it's because we've got no hair and no women?
It might be that. Oh, no. See? No comments. Told you. There's no women watching. I've looked at my channel data because people say, oh, yeah. I'm looking at channel data. There's like 1% women watch the channel.
We're in the wrong sport, Benny. Yeah, we need to.
Well, all I'm saying there is an opening. If you are into male,
if you're a woman
in a non-pressurized environment, windsurfing is amazing. We should be going down the Tinder route with windsurfing to promote it. You could, I think, windsurfers. What they've got nice fans usually. Usually got a bit of money.
They've got a bed in the back.
There's no way they're cheating because they're so knackered from sailing and chasing conditions. They got no time for that. So they're it's perfect.
Yeah, no, they should start up an app for this.
Maybe windsurfing TV / dating, and we do like matchmaking. We go on windsurfing trips, and it's singles only. It would just be all men, wouldn't it? It would be like a Grinder edition. It wouldn't end well. There's no way. Oh, there's no way. I have, weirdly, I am weird, but I did think about organizing like trips for
a Grinder edition,
single windsurfers when I was single.
A sausage fest, eh?
I was single, and I was thinking, well, I would like to meet.
I'm single, actually.
Exactly. So, would you go on a windsurfing trip?
What, with a whole bunch of other guys?
Yeah, no, it would be like The Bachelor. So you'd be like the guy, and then there'd be like 9 women,
Oh,
and
yeah.
then you like whittle them down over a week, and then you'd get married, and then that'll be it.
Like a married at first sight kind of thing.
I don't know. They've got that in Australia.
We can sail off into the sunset.
Hey, this is a good one. Ride the Liga said we can have like a single elimination. So we have like, you know, couples. You're matched up, and then depending on whether you get through or not, or maybe it's all men to get to the final and you're in the final.
Not a double elimination.
That sounds wrong. I don't know why. I told you there's no women watching. Look, there's still no women. I knew it.
Yeah, it's not very appealing. We need to maybe have to get Federico on, or Bant, or someone with some good hair.
Maybe you're right. Maybe we're just too bald. That's why Nico's got so many viewers. Like he's got the hair. He's going to be like, living the dream.
Well, I think a video we need to do is us going to Turkey for a windsurf holiday and getting a hair transplant at the same time. And that
you say that. It's all coming together now because he's just had the hair transplant because of that Turkey experience. So maybe if you book on that clinic, we should actually check out the before and after pictures, because maybe it's just a bunch of like us guys with bald heads that we go there, and then after the week when they're interviewing them, they're like, "How'd you get on?" They'd be like, "Fucking great." They got like this full head of hair and these teeth are up.
Just
Turkey
pearly
teeth.
whites. That's awesome. Just changing subject from Grinder to something else, which is kind of interesting. Normally we don't talk about politics or, this sort of, politics outside of windsurfing, but I thought this was kind of an interesting little thing.
Oh God, here we go.
As we all know, if you haven't been living under a rock or don't follow the news, then obviously a lot of it's about the tariffs with Trump. And I was in a windsurf shop the other day, and we were talking about it, and the guy made a good point. He was saying that the sailcloth, like basically just about all the sailcloth in the world, comes from a particular company. And I'll just let me just share this here. It's a company here called.
Not in America.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, like the monitor. They're called Dimension. Oh, where are we? Sorry, I've just lost it. All right. Dimension Polyant. I'm pretty sure I got the right website. If someone in the comments knows I made a mistake, tell me. I'm pretty sure this is it. But obviously, a lot of sails in the world are manufactured either in Sri Lanka or China. I think they're basically the two main spots.
Yeah.
But they actually buy a lot of their sailcloths from, which I believe is this company. They just like a lot of the monofilms, various things. So because as you've probably seen, the big trade war going on, tariffs just gone crazy. It's going to be interesting to see.
That's interesting because without looking into it, without whatever, I just thought, I wonder how that's going to affect the American market and how much the windsurfing gear is going to be over there. And I was thinking Dave Ezzy might be like rubbing his hands together, thinking, or Sail Works, because these guys are based in America. But then I guess it will depend on a few things, doesn't it? But I didn't realize that the guys from China were buying their stuff from America. That does change things, actually, interestingly.
Yeah. Oh, that's a Hajo. Hajo is saying all sailcloth but north. So I assume I've got the right company here. Okay. But but obviously, so it was, or basically just for disclosure, I went to the Revolution shop in Perth, which is basically the Severn Loft. Yeah. And I was talking to Paul, who basically manages that shop, and we were just having a good chat. And he obviously is very involved in the production, or like the ins and outs of the business. And he couldn't give me a number because it all remains to be seen. It's everything's changing day by day. But he just said that it's probably an inevitability that the cost of production of these sails is going to go off because of this trade war. So that's going to be a little bit interesting to see what happens there. Yeah. Here we go. So Rasmus. So it is correct. Dimension Polyant, German surf magazine, had a big article recently about them. So yeah. So anyway, that was just something that.
Well, that's quite worrying, isn't it?
Well, yeah. I mean, who knows what that means? I mean, this is the issue happening in the world right now, isn't it? With all this sort of stuff, this is why it's getting so much news time. And for us as windsurfers,
that's why all my shares have crashed.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, and obviously, I asked about boards. I'm not sure. I think the boards may be less impacted because the supply is like they can get supplies locally, in that if they're made in Thailand or Vietnam or wherever they're made. But anyway, look, either way, it's probably not going to lead to cheaper gear. So we'll have to watch that one and see what sort of impacts that has. And I dare say it'll take a little while for the effects to roll through, obviously. But yeah, anyway, I just thought that was something worth mentioning. I had a quick look at the website. It's quite interesting. There's pages and pages of all the different materials that they do. And obviously some of them are quite familiar to windsurf sales, all these X-ply stuff. And it's yeah,
it's interesting that they get that from America, isn't it? You would have thought. Okay, interesting.
Yeah, I mean, if you look here, all these X-plies, they all look very familiar, don't they, to the sales?
Yeah. Is that going to motivate the Chinese to make their own? That's what you start to wonder, isn't it?
Well, this is the big question, isn't it? It depends how long this goes on for, and I guess market economics will dictate what happens. But in the short term, and I guess this is also what happens when you have kind of almost like monopolies in a market. Like these guys essentially have the monopoly on this market. But I doubt they're happy about this either, because all of a sudden they would ship a hell of a lot of this product overseas, and now they have to deal with all this as well, isn't it? So, yeah, anyway, what's Max is saying here? The company may be American, but is the factory located in the States? Yeah, I actually don't know, Max, but from what I was told at the shop, they're still purchasing them through this American company. So I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not the best person to ask actually about all this. So, yeah.
Well, interesting. See, watch this space, I guess, and all that.
Yep.
So, where do we get to? We pretty much covered. I mean, there was some pro juniors and stuff. Go on, carry on.
Oh yeah, okay. The pro juniors. So we've done the ladies.
Oh, just to give them a bit of a shout out, because I thought it was pretty interesting. The results in the pro juniors, definitely in the boys, it looked really hard fought. I thought, the winner of the semis was right down there, or the guys coming through, and then the winner of the final was Anton Richter. But he finished. But go. Just have the full heat draw up. Have the full heats so you can see like where they finished. So if you look at the first one, like Anton Richter had to come through the redemption round, and he didn't even win the redemption round. Jake Giretti, how do you say?
Yeah, Giretti,
yeah. So he didn't, like Anton Richter didn't win the first round. Kamani did. So then they both went into the redemption round, and that looked really tough. They managed to get out the redemption round and then get into the final. And then obviously both of them got in the top three. And Tobias Bjorner, that won his first round with like 12.97, just didn't have the best final. I read a thing from him saying he just didn't get his wave selection right. And that just goes to show, he's definitely got the skills to win it. And it just, how close those finals are, which is great to see, and really good to see Jake up there in third, I think.
Well, yeah, I mean, just and again, this redemption round, he smashed it up here, didn't he? But obviously wasn't able to repeat the same score down here. I mean, a bit of a bias again to Jake, because I know him because he's from WA. It's Jane Seaman's son. So Jane obviously wins the women's, and Jake is coming through as the new generation and is also doing really well. So it was actually a good event for the Aussies. They made the effort to get over there. Yeah, so
down the line.
Yeah. Well, obviously the port tack was is what we do over here. So no, it's cool, and like it's it's just great to see again all these younger crew coming through, because they are obviously the future, and hopefully it inspires more youngsters to get involved or give it a go. It would have been nice actually to see more of these, more of the sailing, because I have to admit I don't think I caught any of the footage, especially the final. Did you actually see anything from the final?
Well, do you know what? I didn't. I know that was the difficulty. It was only 3 days of live stream, so I don't think there was live streaming. But there was a little bit after the finals. I just had to go and organize some other stuff like here, so I couldn't watch it. But it was good. Like I said, I thought the level looked really good. You know, good location. Chile definitely delivered again. I said it in Send It Sunday, but you know, what's the idea of a PWA IWT event? What is the idea of a 5-star event? And it is like, it ticked all the boxes for me, Chile, because it made me want to go to Chile. Like, it made me talk to other friends about it and go, wow, man, that looked good. Yeah. And people started telling me, oh, I think we got to go to Chile, you know. So that was kind of interesting. I think, again, I said all this in Sunday Sunday, but it, you know, it motivated the youth. Definitely. When I heard Caro speaking about her son, she said, on the commentary, she was like, well, they all left last year and my son was super motivated, because not just of what they were doing on the water, but the whole vibe that they gave off on the beach. And he, you know, him and his mates around Matanzas were like, wow, that's a cool bunch of, you know, dudes, basically. And, you know, that also motivates you to go windsurfing and train. And maybe you want to do that one day, whether it's a good thing or not, it's another thing. But yeah, so that was good. And it genuinely motivated me to go windsurfing. Like, I was like, I need to go down the line. I need to go and bust an aerial. I need to go and, you know, find the best spot. So I thought it was really interesting, like how it does motivate you.
Definitely. One thing I noticed with this Chile event, you know, of the years gone by in South America, a lot of the attention was on Peru, even though it wasn't a 5-star event. But, you know, that was getting, I guess, that was happening for a while. But now that this Chile event's happened and we've had the conditions and we've seen it all, it's for me, the attention has now shifted from Peru to Chile, you know, well and truly, hasn't it? You know, yeah. So it's interesting. I mean, they're both, yeah.
It goes to show the power of it.
Yeah, because I mean, Peru is an amazing place to sail as well, but they both have their slight differences. Chile's looks windier, or it's windier, and the wave sort of stands up, you know, more, and more extreme sort of conditions and stuff like that. But yeah, I think I was the same as you, Ben, watching that Chile event. I was like, damn, I've got to get to Chile one day. That Topacama looks sick.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I know. Yeah. And I think there's also there was a few sailors that I've had some messages from. Julian was one where he was so frothing on it, and he was like, "Man, I think I'm going to move here." You know, yeah, because it's it ticks quite a lot of boxes, hey.
Well, look at Robbie Nash, Robbie Swift, Brown, Victor Fernandez, Klaus Boggett. When they came years and years ago, they all bought houses, and you know, back then it was a good investment. But at the same time, they didn't buy it; they bought it because the place was going off, you know. And I remember like Vidar Jensen and these guys. There was an article in a magazine years and years ago, maybe even 20 odd years ago or something. And I remember looking at that, thinking, "Wow, that place looks pretty, you know, crazy." Obviously, that, you know, those guys were very early to it, but from what I can understand, the investment that Swift and these guys made paid off big time, and maybe they should just keep it because it just looks epic. Although they did have an earthquake, I think, pretty close after they built his house, and it all popped out of the windows. And
really? Wow,
sure.
That's true, isn't it? Yeah, it seems that's. Yeah,
well, Victor's
it's actually funny
because, there, you know.
Oh, really? Interesting. Okay. Yeah, it's actually funny because, just out of curiosity, I'm sort of a curious person, but I just had a look at real estate around Matanzas just to get an idea of what's the deal. But it's not like a super cheap place, that's for sure, is it? You know, like it's still, you know, like it probably used to be, you know, 15 years ago. But it looks to me that to get a house that's, I guess, decent, you know, so just with, you know, just a decent house with a few bedrooms and the whole thing, it's still around, you know, $400,000 or $500,000 US, or so, you know what I mean? Like, it's not like $100,000.
No, I think it's one of those places that has ended up getting this cool reputation. You know, like it is. There's certain places that just come up like that, and then they become this forget the right words, but like a healthy kind of sporty kind of feel. And that's kind of where it's cool at the moment. You know, you see it here in Portugal, it kind of happening. And then the house prices kind of go through the roof. Like the surfers move there, the yoga guy, you know, all that sort of move there first. And then it picks up this pace. And then, you know, the other people kind of buy into that lifestyle, which obviously puts But Yurko here says there's more spots in Chile in the central area around Con. I sent info to Alfie for sending session. That would be epic, because that's what I was saying. I just looked at some stuff from Finn and my brain's gone. Finn and Lucas Meldrum, and they apparently went up the coast with Victor, and just reading what he said on the video, keep your eye on his channel, because it sounds like they had like the longest waves of their life. So that sounds interesting. So they obviously went to another spot further north or south, and there are a lot of other spots apparently to check out. I've heard that from a few people now. So interesting.
Wow. Yeah, I have to get there. Are you sort of thinking you're going to try and get there next year, Benny, or?
I need to try at some point. My problem is we're just about to have another baby. So if I go radio silent for a couple of days or a week, it's because the baby's popped out, but we haven't, it's still in there at the moment. So we're waiting on it any day, really. So I'm trying to back up some videos. So maybe you won't notice, but hopefully.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah,
Good on you.
as long as, again, it's really, when I was young, free and single, I could just go, yep, no worries, I'm going, right, see ya. Now it's a little bit more like to organize. But I'd like to go 100%. I'd like to go to Peru. That's on the list. 100%. Peru is on the list. Chile, 100% on the list. Those two are like non-negotiables. I will go at some point. It will happen. I want to go. But maybe we want to go for the competition. That's the other question, because I love competition. I work in the competition things. I've watched so many. I've been involved with it. But do I want to go there when all the tow riders are there, sneaking all the waves, taking all the stuff? I'm like, I'm not sure I want to go then.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. Yeah. No, I think it'd be nice to go outside of the circus for sure. But if you go, Benny, we should organize it. Maybe we can do a Chile/Peru little windsurfing TV extravaganza. Something like
maybe
that.
We should. Maybe we should offer an experience. Everyone seems to be doing experience. That would be an experience, going with me and you on a windsurfing trip.
A sausage fest.
Well, you know, actually thinking about it, like joking, you've got the drone skills. I do a fair bit of coaching.
Great.
We could offer tips. Yeah. We could do that. Do a little bit a day. Obviously, we need to go sailing. Not going to sit on the beach filming all day, but a couple of beers, tell some stories around the campfire.
Yeah, no, it has to make it happen, Benny. Make it happen. I wanted to. We'll just bring. We've got a special guest that's just rocked up. A very special. Is he ready to go? Oh, there he is.
How special is he? Special.
Yeah.
Mr. Maciek Rukalski.
He's never appeared on the podcast, has he?
Special guest. Where are you? Driving to Poland?
Yeah, I'm actually crossing all Europe from the ferry lands in Huelva, which is actually not far from you. I think it's only like 2 hours from where you live, Ben. And I'm currently in Germany, crossing to Poland. Basically, it's like a 3,000 kilometer drive. So.
And you didn't come and say hello. You were in Huelva. Oh, I tell you what, you should have asked me, because Faro is going off right now. He's gone
really?
quiet.
So what are you doing on the podcast?
Yeah, but I had to go and sort some stuff out business wise this morning, so I missed it. I missed the tide.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so I'm doing the whole Europe. I'm on a bit of a schedule.
Okay.
Maciek, he's
going to Guadeloupe.
Yeah, I'm flying on the 16th. So a couple of days at home and flying there. But I heard you guys talk about Chile, and I have to recommend. I went in 2016, and I have to really recommend it to you both. I mean, now everybody knows, so it's not like I'm gonna cause a crowd, but it's just so good. Like, empty and such good waves and such cool people. And back then, especially, like, nobody was going there, you know. Not many people were going. Like Robbie and Brausinho were going, and Klaas and Victor were going, but you know, there wasn't any crowd. So actually, the locals, they were stoked you would go there. You know, it was super nice.
Well, we'll see. We'll see. We'll have to go at some point. Just while you're there, who's the best windsurfer in the world?
Overall, or by this?
Overall, best windsurfer in the world right now, like on current form, current level. Who's the best windsurfer in the world?
Like, that's so hard.
Man and woman?
I think the woman one's easy. That's for me.
The woman one's really easy with Sarakita. And I don't know, overall, what happens if you stick Sarakita into all of the men's contests, you know, in all the disciplines, into the overall? She'd be up there.
Would, you know?
None of the men, you know, when I started doing the tour, it was only 15 years ago, and there was quite a few people still doing multiple disciplines, like Peter Fallwater, Ross Williams, even Benny van der Steen was doing waves. Obviously Kevin Pritchard, I just got to like spend a year or two on tour with him. And it's a shame. It's a shame we don't have that, you know. I think, you know, I think we're forced into specialization. In a way, the sport progressed so much that there's no other choice. But I really enjoy seeing people cross over, you know.
Agreed.
And I take a lot of pride in my little, you know, quite crappy but fun wave sailing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, totally. But you'd stop avoiding the question. Who is it?
What are the rules? What are the rules?
Well, there's no rules. Like for me, okay, let's say you've got to pick someone to be the best guy in the world. Then maybe that's even a harder but better question. Like, I think Amado Vrieswijk springs to mind for me, because you cannot be that great at freestyle and doubles and jumping and be good on a foil and good on a fin. He's bound to be like good on the speed, and you can teach him to wave ride better, like, because he just doesn't do it. I would say in terms of ability, he, for me, and mental ability to just, you know, I don't know. I just feel like he is, for me, he's the best. I'm going to put it out there.
If we set up some ground rules, like in terms of, okay, it's an overall ranking and 2 out of 3 disciplines count.
No, they all count. There's no rules. It's everything counts. You've got to do speed. Like, literally, the competition is you've got to do everything. So you've got to do speed, you've got to do foiling, you've got to do fin, you've got to do freestyle, you've got to do wave, everything.
Yeah.
You've got to do everything.
Yeah, Amado's up there. Koster would be up there, I think. He likes to slalom here and there from time to time.
I reckon Antoine.
Ricardo. I bet you Ricardo's up there.
He's gonna... if he listens or something, he's gonna give me shit, but he's really slow on the slalom gear. He's really fast on the wave gear. But when he jumped on the slalom, I was shocked, because obviously he was like, I'll kick your ass. Let's go, da-da-da, this and that. I don't know what it was. Because
I always remember him from Super X being pretty fast. Tati's got to be up there, isn't he?
Tati's definitely up there. Yeah, you got to basically think of the wave guys and freestyle guys that can slalom, and the race guys that can either freestyle or wave ride.
Yeah.
It's basically that. Like Mark Paré used to do a little bit of slalom.
Yeah, I bet you Mark's up there, to be fair. You're right. Mark can hold his own in slalom. But again, what I'm thinking is IQ foiling, normal fin slalom, speed, freestyle, wave rally.
Yeah.
But
go ahead.
Who's going ahead? Well, I'll go ahead. I was going to say, why? I know this is just for philosophical, but you've got a racing ranking, we've got a wave ranking. So at the end of the year, why couldn't you just work something out and you just have an overall just for those two disciplines? Forget speed.
The problem is there's guys that don't do the tour wave sailing, but can wave sail. So
no, I know. Well,
the problem, like, there's a lot of freestylers who might wave sailors that could do slalom, who might do okay with a bit of training, but don't do it. And so if you're doing who does it, no one does speed really. So you're like, well, but I was just thinking, who could be the best.
If there was an overall, I definitely do more disciplines. Definitely, because I love it. I really like it. I really enjoy wave sailing. I enjoyed course racing.
We do a one-off event, invitational, where we basically do every discipline.
I tell you,
like a decathlon.
Like a decathlon, exactly.
I tell you my best results in each discipline.
A sail-athlon.
And you tell me where I rank in this overall. So the slalom I managed to win once. The course racing, the formula, I finished second in the world by 1 point to Steve Allen, and I was actually leading the last race, and the wind died, and we all stopped. So, in the waves, my proud moment is like a 13th in Silt. And then IQ foil top 10 in.
But you'd be up for sure. You'd be up there.
I'm not I wouldn't probably.
Your freestyle might put you back.
Amado, like a guy like Amado can win two disciplines genuinely, right?
Yeah.
I'm not even close, let's say, to that. But I really enjoy training all of them. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, it would be so much fun to be incentivized to actually push yourself in wave sailing, rather than think like, oh, I'm gonna injure myself and I'm gonna lose my salary and my livelihood. Yeah. You know what I mean?
That's interesting. It's interesting to think about it like that. Interesting. I don't know. Yeah, we'll see. I still think I would say at the moment, currently, I would say it's Amado.
Yeah.
And if he trained a bit of waves, I'd be more keen.
What about
no interest in wave riding?
No.
I asked him. He's like, I don't get the point.
Yeah.
He's like, I don't get the point of wave. Like, what's the point? He asks me. I'm like,
really?
I don't know.
No, he said it to me in Australia. He said, I don't understand, Ben. What? I don't get it. Why is that fun? We went to Esperance. It was firing, aerial stuff, and he wanted to jump. He was just wanting to jump on the way out. I was like,
yeah,
interesting.
Wave ride. You can wave ride. It's fun. He's like, I don't get it. I just don't get it.
Well, but who? So Antoine Albo would be a better wave sailor, right? Or he's a decent wave sailor, right?
Well, Antoine Albo, I said he's not the best at the moment, but if you look at it, he's the fastest guy in the world. He could still hold his own in foiling. Yeah. He could still hold his own in slalom. He's probably still can bust out some freestyle there in Antoine. And in wave sailing, he's actually pretty solid.
Yeah.
But that's what
So
really
Antoine
makes
Arbeau
me-
would.
That's what really makes me sad, that we got pushed, my generation, which comes like after the Antoine generation, got pushed into those like small disciplines, and you had to be the generation of Antoine and like Ross Williams and Peter Fallwater. These guys, they did everything. They still did everything, you know. And it's so cool that Antoine can, like, he had some top 5 results in waves, and he was a freestyle world champion, you know. Like, everybody thinks of Antoine as a racer, but his results in waves, and like, he's sick. He's really good.
I learned to flacker.
Yeah.
I learned to flacker watching Antoine Arbeau flacker. Like, there was a video on Continent 7 back in the day when it first kicked off, and there was a video, because there wasn't proper internet back then. There was no films and stuff and how-tos, but there was like 4 clips of flackers from Fuerteventura, and one of them was Arbeau. And I've watched that frigging clip so many times when I was learning to flacker, because he's such a big lump. He just sticks his arms forward and it just, it's like pretty impressive. It was pretty impressive. So, yeah. So,
yeah, bring it back.
Antoine Arbeau.
Bring back the overall.
Bring back the overall. Bring back the overall. Maybe we should do it all over a decathlon with different disciplines.
But the thing is, but you could easily, like I said, just say take 2 disciplines, slalom and waves. Let's just say Maciek comes 3rd in the world this year in slalom, and then there's a wave ranking, and he's not even on there. But all he has to do is one event, and he comes last, but he's still got a ranking, and you just add those 2 rankings together somehow. I mean, it could be done, couldn't it?
It for sure can be done. We could have the unofficial. Maybe that's what we do. Windsurfing TV, unofficial overall world champion, and we just use results. So we give them a title.
The problem is,
but the problem is
what you've seen in Chile. What you've seen in Chile, it was that the event was actually overflowed with people. Like, I listened to your podcast with Finn and Lucas, you know, and you feel for these guys. Like Lucas was in the main event, but Finn was in the trials, right, in the challenger rounds.
Yeah.
And it's like, I looked at that draw, and there's no fucking way I'm making the main event, you know, not in these conditions, like super like, you know what I mean? So then, but if I'm like fighting for an overall title, myself or Matteo, who did the Tenerife event in waves actually, and if I'm getting a spot in the main draw just because of my overall ranking, that's also wrong, because I'm taking that spot away from somebody who's actually better.
You've got to be good enough to get in there. That's the whole idea of it. Like, if you're not good enough to get in there, then you can't do it.
Yeah. So
you've got to get in there on merit.
So specialized that there's certain events where maybe like Matteo was competing in Tenerife in the 4-star, and it's not like you would say, oh, he's a cook, he doesn't deserve that place. But it was these conditions where, you know, if you put us in Pozo, if you put me and Matteo in Pozo, we're going to look like cooks. We're going to look like cooks, you know?
I disagree, though. Like, that's because you're not good enough then if you look like kooks. The whole idea of an overall world champion, if you're good in waves, you've got to look good in waves. You can't be a kook. So, like, in Chile, if you go into the challengers, that's the cool thing about that challenger fleet. You actually have a result. So let's say you don't go through, but you get through a couple of rounds, you'd still be a 30th place. And if you win the racing, that puts you down to 215s, which is not bad, you know, or whatever it is. I don't think it can be like that. I think
But I've got a simple solution. I've got a simple solution to this. There's this point system, right? So if you win a 5-star, you get 10,000 points, and if you win a 3-star, you get X amount. You know, all that point system, right? So Maciek enters his local wave sailing comp. There's just got a few locals in it. It's a 2-star event, and he wins it, or he comes second and gets 200 points. Yeah, that 200 points just goes onto a ladder. He just gets added onto that overall ladder. Like, he's just 200. There's 200 points for Maciek. He doesn't have to go to Silt. He just has to go to anything. And at the end of the
but
year,
it's
whoever's
actually
got the
super
most.
fun.
But if that point system is good, then it would be worth him going to sell if he's good, because he can do well.
I know, but I'm just saying, like, you didn't. All I'm saying is that's how to work out who the overall is. You just take the points from the waves and the racing and just add it onto an overall ladder, right? You don't have to reinvent the wheel.
There's got to be discards though. You can't just be points, because you just go to everything. Yeah,
but that's the way it kind of is a little bit now as well, isn't it? You still, you know what I mean? Like, it's
there's discards. You count the 5 stars first. If there's let's say there's 3 5-star events, or the result for the end of the year is the best. You can count 3 5-star events, but you can count 2 5-star events and a 4-star event, but you can't count more or less. So it benefits the guys that do well at the 5-star events. So you can only count 3 events for the whole tour.
But maybe keep it simpler, Benny. But why does it even matter?
It doesn't work.
But I'll tell you why. Tell me.
Well, it doesn't work. It can't work. It's mathematically can't work. You can only have it counting. Let's say there's 4 5-star events. The result for the end of the year should be 4 5-star events. And if you mess one up, you break a mass, then you have the opportunity to go and do a 4-star or a backup result of something else. But it can't be more than that, because then that detracts from the 5 stars. You've got to have it at the 5 stars. So if Maciek did 4 3-stars, fine. You can add up all those points. But you can't add them as well as.
Well, maybe I'm missing something here.
Yeah, you don't want to make it a participation trophy. Definitely. But
why not?
It's definitely like if it was like
that's the whole idea.
If it's like official and you're, the cool thing is, would you not watch a YouTube feature of Mark Barrett trying to like get into professional slalom? I'd fucking watch that all day.
Me too.
Excuse my French. You know, or Brazilio.
We've talked about this video actually.
Yeah. Or like somebody that has a bit of a style, like Philip, you know.
Yeah,
I'd watch that all day, and I think the same goes for watching, I don't know, one of my slalom mates get into waves and punishing oneself, you know, trying. Doubles.
Someone outside the bit of comfort zone, but they're obviously skilled enough to be interesting.
Exactly, you know. And I think that would be really cool for the sport and for what goes on in the sport. The flip side of that is that then, you know, it's already hard enough to break through in one discipline, let alone 2, you know.
But weirdly, just to say, like, when I've been watching these programs recently, or some podcasts and stuff, what is really interesting, and if you look at Kai Lenny, you can see this, and you look at other riders, you can see this. Just dedicating yourself to one discipline is not always your best outcome, weirdly. And the more you look into it, the more you see it, actually. It kind of is, but it also isn't. Being rounded can kind of benefit you as well, and having those time offs and those breaks and those whatever, whereas just doing the same thing over and over again is also not great. I don't know the exact behind it, but
already now we have slalom on fin and on the foil, and a lot of people actually are doing just one. Oh, I don't like this, or oh, I don't like that. It kind of, it's, I don't know, it doesn't feel right, let's say. I don't want to say that it pisses me off, because it doesn't, but somehow it doesn't feel right, no? Because you're just doing what you're good at, and at one point in time you weren't good at anything, you know. So this process is actually something cool, you know, this improving thing. So I don't know. I would love to see it. There's absolutely no chance that there is too much, let's say, insecurity or for it to happen, let's say. But
there's not enough budget. Let's just call it what it is. There's not enough budget. If there was loads of money for it, people will be doing it. It's just as simple as that. You'd love to do it if there was money. If someone said, look, Maciek, I'm going to give you 200 grand, but I want you to do every discipline. You'd be like, fuck yeah, come on, bring it on.
I still wouldn't be able to freestyle though.
No, but you'd give it a go.
I don't know who could teach me freestyle, but this is like.
This is why I've gone with Amado and Tati as my overalls, because I feel like freestyle is one of the harder ones, especially when you get to a certain age, to do well at. And this brings me in nicely to this comment here from Pozo Bros, Leonard Neubauer. He's a good shout, I tell you.
Yes.
Like, he is pretty quick. He's quite keen. Like, he's not done any, I don't think, official proper slalom comps, or he has done some Super X and maybe entered a few sort of, maybe he's done the Deathy, I don't know, but he's quick. He's good at wave sailing, like pretty rad, getting better. His freestyle is off the friggin' scale. He's a big fella, professional. He's a good shout, Leonard Neubauer. I like that. I like that comment.
I tell you what, freestyle might be the best like gateway discipline.
Yeah. Look at Elbow. Nick Baker, Matt Pritchard.
Yeah, it's probably technically the hardest one in terms of your technique. So once you do that, then you learn how to learn. You know what I mean? Because in wave sailing, realistically, you need what, like 6 moves? You need to learn like 6 moves to do them perfectly and
experience, I guess, just with waves. That's
but then the rest of it, let's say that the rest of it are sort of cognitive skills of wave selection, of how a good wave looks, heat tactics, and then you get into racing and it's physical preparation and it's equipment. It's all those things which you can do, let's say, cognitively, but if you don't have that technique, you will never do freestyle. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I think freestyle is like really good. Like if you want to get your kid good at windsurfing, I think start with freestyle is a good shout.
Yeah. Actually, that's a question I've got is why don't you see many freestylers in any wave events? What's going on there?
Well, it depends how you count it. Because if you count it, if you count all the guys that went from freestyle to across, let's say, across the last 15 years, you see a lot.
Yeah, but I meant now, though. Yeah.
I don't know.
No, but it is true. Like you
like Victor Fernandez was originally a freestyler. Ricardo Campello was originally a freestyler. Cowley Seari was originally a freestyler. Marsilio Brown was a freestyler. All these guys.
I'm not sure Victor was, but
well, he was like top 5.
He did freestyle, but I think he was more a wave setter. But I do agree. Like Ricardo, Cowley, all those boys coming from for sure made a big difference. Yeah. But then it got very, very niche. That was when it started to change, when all these power moves and all this started coming out. I always tell Yentl, why isn't he doing it? But it'd be interesting. Leonard, I'm pretty sure will do it because surely there's not enough in freestyle to just do freestyle. It's interesting. Yeah, look at this. Moritz Malk, he's got a good shout here.
Hey, Moritz.
No, but interestingly, we did, like, I've mentioned this before, but it is quite interesting. And I definitely cherry picked the right moves to make this applicable to kind of me. Yeah, but I was like, okay. No, because Mikkel Asmussen was telling me about this club they had, which was like, and then it got changed into the Volwater Club, which was basically all-round windsurfer. And there was a list of things that you had to tick off. So, and maybe they've changed over the last years to suit myself, but it was like, you had to do something like crazy, which is like a push forward. So have you done a push forward? So there's not many people in the world done a push forward. You had to at least get 50 on your GPS watch tick. So I was like, oh, you've had to win a World Cup event oh, tick. And I was going through them and going, oh, you can't do this, got this. And I was like, I might be the only guy in the world to tick those boxes. So I'm like, wow. But I did obviously cherry pick
you definitely changed it for yourself, because the
yes, for sure.
like,
over the years, it's changed.
The Peter Fallwater Club was all the things that the amazing Peter Fallwater did.
Well, yeah, but this
was called Mr. Double Loop, right? So he was called Mr. Double Loop, so it was double forwards. He won in slalom, like he won finals in slalom, so you had to win a final in slalom. He was fucking good in speed, so you had to do 50 in speed. It was kind of about the things Peter did,
well,
you know, in a way.
Honestly, I came up with it. So I know what it was from. It came from Mikkel in the first place, but then I kind of thought it would be cool for Windsurfing TV to give a tribute to Volwater, because he was, for me, one of the best all-rounders ever.
Yeah,
and he was a legend off the water as well. So I kind of just thought like we could kind of tailor it to Volwater, but it actually came from Mikkel Asmussen, which was, I think he said, a double forward, wave 360, 50 knot peak, and you know, something else. And you could have, and then as I thought about it for Windsurfing TV, I thought it'd be so cool to have different levels of like this thing, which is like the big five, which would be the lower levels, you know, or you have these like the RYA has got in windsurfing to tell you what grade of windsurfer you are, you know, which is like beach star, water star, all this sort of stuff. But we could level it up to a higher level and then have these kind of almost like certificates if you could get these things on film, which I thought would be pretty cool. But in the end, I never really went through and did it.
Yeah, add commentators as well, Benny.
There's a lot of things there's a lot of things in our sport that should be done, let's say, like this type of club, and then like the Hall of Fame is happening, which is great. You know, awards like you know, like if you have an award ceremony, you know, just a lot of things that shine a light on the sport that in different ways, you know, different ways.
But they all need organizing.
Anyway, anyway, if there's an overall, and like Moritz says, Ben Profit is one of the contestants, I want to be the Ben Profit's trainer for slalom, the coach.
I want to do a training for slalom. I need to put on some weight. Are we allowed weight jackets?
No. But Benny. So we'll have an overall. But then there'll be weight. There'll be two weight categories in overall. Huh? There'll be a lightweight and a heavyweight too. Huh? So
but
just for you, man. Just for you.
Interestingly, if we're going to go into this, I think the overall there should be weight categories. I think it's interesting. I think, like for me, I think it's really interesting.
I agree. How heavy are you, Maciek?
95.
Oh, he's a heavyweight. So you wouldn't have to battle Maciek then, Benny. You'd be in a class of your own.
I am 82 at the moment. Weighed myself this morning.
That's not bad. Yeah.
I've been trying to lose weight. I've been trying to do some intermittent fasting.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. What's your target?
78.
Yeah, okay, cool. You'll have to change your whole quiver up.
Yeah, exactly. I will. The annoying thing is, when I go down to 78 on a slalom board and on my GPS stuff, I get slower. It's really freaking demoralizing. And, you know, and I think this is the problem that the women have had in racing for years. Like, you know, they don't want to put on weight, but when you put on weight, you go faster. And it's like, it's like if you're trying to be a professional slalom guy, like I don't think Maciek would be 95 kilos if he wasn't trying to be a world champion. Would you?
You'd be sitting on the couch. You'd be sitting on the couch eating donuts. Huh?
Yeah. Yeah, it needs to be functional, the weight. You still need to move, but for sure, I mean, I wouldn't be, like, my natural weight is not 95. I would be way less, for sure.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it is a tricky one, but I think it's interesting.
Actually, I've got a question for you guys. So you're the head of you're the dictator of the PWA, and you can choose the direction of the sport. Do you either choose to have an overall category, like as we just discussed, or The other choice is to have a weight category in slalom. You can choose one or the other. Which one would you do?
I do the overall, hands down, for sure.
Oh, but Benny's not so sure.
I know. I like the overall. The problem is I know how difficult it would be to actually make it happen. But if we could make it happen properly, and it was, what are we saying with this overall? There would be 32 riders in each fleet, and they all have to do every discipline. I like the idea of that. Like, and it doesn't matter because, well, the difficulty is, you know, then you could end up with a lot of crap people and they would just get a result because the other guy wasn't very good, not that they were good. That's the problem with it.
No, I think like back in the day, you would still have specialists.
Yes.
But if I want to do it, I need to come up against Brasilio and get my ass kicked, you know.
Yeah, but it was 64 man back then as well.
Yeah.
In a way.
Yeah, it should be probably, you know, the problem is, as you say, that the standard of each discipline will go down slightly, and the ones who will suffer are probably like the fringe guys or the young guys, you know, that they're trying to break through in waves, and maybe the wild card or whatever goes to somebody that's, you know, on the same level but older but is fighting in the overalls, or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Something like that. It will affect for sure. Then you need to have a bigger fleet, so the heats need to be a little bit shorter. But yeah, but I think, you know, I don't know how many people would be up to do an overall.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. I would love to see it, because I think it depends. Like, it doesn't become
Like 10?
the best. The competition between people gets really exciting then. Like, oh, this guy's got to win this to do this. He's got to beat him. You know, like there's a lot more numbers involved. But yeah, that'd be good. Be good.
Yeah,
be
look,
good.
and imagine how excited you'd be if, like, a slalom sailor comes to an event and busts out a double. You know, like, whoa, where did that come from? You know. You know
Well,
it pushes
everybody.
all, you know?
I think we would see some massive progression. Like, where was I recently? Was it William Hooper who come out and busted out a back loop in front of me? Was he in Cape Town? Am I imagining this?
Maybe
he was in Cape Town, because I was like, oh, that was pretty nice. Oh, it's Hooper.
but I wonder the other way, like because the slalom sailors, we love to wave sail. Everybody goes wave sailing, regardless how good or bad, you know. But I wonder how many of the wave guys and the freestyle guys would actually enjoy slalom. You know,
I'd agree with that.
This is what I
would agree. But I would personally, I would love to see speed, like a toned down Super X, so Slalom X, and wave sailing and freestyle. You got to put that in there, but they would be interesting. But the freestyle might be not as fun, and then I think you'd end up with a freestyler winning, because the freestyle is so hard that if you can do that, you should be able to do the others to a decent degree. Whereas if you're good at speed, you're good at jumping, doesn't mean you're any good at freestyle. You know, that's the.
What if you had foiling then?
Yeah.
What if you had foiling? So you had 5 disciplines and count for your 4 best.
Yeah, you could have one discard, I guess, but then it favors the racers because there's more speedy type disciplines, whereas wave sailing, it crosses a little bit into freestyle, but not loads. But the racing,
I would love at Pozo. It wouldn't happen at all events, but at Pozo, because you have the slalom and the wave events in the same arena, I would love to get all the wave sailers, and they have to use the boards they use for the event, and just stick them in a race. Like, just put all the wave sailors on their wave gear and just stick them all on the course. Just totally that'd be cool. How fun would that be?
On the flat day.
Yeah, the course is already there. You got the course. You got everything there. What do you reckon, Maciek?
I mean,
I
just for novelty.
Just before you said it, I reckon the best way to start this and to kind of lakmus paper it would be exactly that, like a wave heat or wave expression session for slalom sailors in Pozo, like a wave heat, let's say for 8 guys in Pozo.
Yeah.
And then a slalom heat for the wave guys in Pozo.
Yeah.
But I would stick the wave guys on slalom equipment because it would be just way funnier.
Well, yeah, I know, but the problem is then they've got to worry about the gear and who's, you know, like they've already
I
got
think
the
it would
wave
be
gear.
interesting to see him on wave gear, to see who's got the fastest gear, to see. I think it would be interesting. You don't want such a long course, but I think it would be interesting.
It'd just be funny. It'll be cool.
Okay, so here it goes. Here it goes.
Make it happen.
The Red Bull overall pair couples championship. So you couple up with a guy from the other discipline. You train him, he trains you. And then there's eight couples of paired up between waves and slalom. And then you do that thing that we said. And like, I don't know, I go on Robbie Swift's equipment. Oh, Robbie Swift is a good shout for the overalls. Jesus, the guy was a machine in slalom.
Very true,
and in freestyle.
Robbie Swift.
Yeah, we forgot
That's
about
very true.
Robbie.
That's very true. I apologize to Swifty. We haven't maybe mentioned him, have we?
Yeah, so maybe bad example. Let's say Team Neil Pride. Yeah, so I go with Marino, and I try to coach up Marino in slalom. He tries to coach me up in waves, and then I do the wave heat, and he does the slalom heat, and the best combined score wins. There you go. That's fun. I think that's a fun contest to create some content and stuff.
I think something to do with creating some kind of teams would be fun in windsurfing too, because it's so individual, which is cool. Like you keep the individual, but if there was some element that had a team element to it as well, I mean, that could be fun. Yeah.
It would be good if it was done in brands. I'd quite like it done in brands.
Brands. Yeah.
You know, because then you can help each other out. You're all on the same brand. I mean, Jules Donnell as well is probably not a bad shout for.
Yeah,
just
extremely good in racing.
Okay.
Yeah, Robbie Swift. It'd be really like if you just those names we just mentioning now. You know, Leonard Neubauer, Costa, Swifty, Mark Paré, you know, Ricardo, Brazinho. These guys, you put them all in a slalom race. It is interesting already. It's like when you put celebrities into a boxing match because you know them already. And it's already interesting. It doesn't matter if they're not as good as the top guys in boxing, but for me, it's already interesting because you know the person. So I think that works in any sport. And that works weirdly in this discipline we've got. It's if you put boxers into an MMA match, it becomes instantly interesting because you know them from boxing. So you're like, oh, I wonder how the skills will go over the side. And I think that's same in windsurfing. You look at wave sailors and you put them in a slalom race, it instantly becomes interesting because we know they can sail, we know they can jibe, but what's going to happen, we don't know. And I think that is interesting.
All right.
Yeah, the Sunday in Pozo. Make it happen.
Yeah, but is it Dunkerbeck that makes the calls? He's the organizer, isn't he? Get on to Bjorn.
Yeah, I think we should at least start a list of who's up for it just to see.
And just on this topic as well, if I can just segue into this, because this is another bit of news, which you guys may have some info, but the PWA has a new CEO, and I have no idea how you pronounce his surname, because that is complicated. How do you pronounce his name? Do you know?
Maciek's Polish. I'm sure he can do it.
Maciek, can you see that? Let me zoom in a bit.
I don't know how to pronounce the name either.
Yeah.
I don't know how to pronounce the name either. We just call him Alberto. Yeah.
Alberto Zishwish. Do you guys can you tell us anything about this appointment? I mean, this is something I honestly don't know. I know very little about.
Nothing. I know absolutely zero.
Oh, okay. How about
Yeah,
you?
so
Maciej?
basically last year we had a change of president and chairman of the board. Nico Preen got elected, and sort of together with that, there was some, let's say, trickle down changes. Rich Page, who was the tour manager, his position sort of ceased to exist, and instead of like his position, right now there's two positions, which is like a CEO and an event manager. So the event manager is a much more on the ground person, much more like sort of day to day, and the CEO is more of a conceptual person, sponsorships, making the sport grow, these things which a day-to-day person would never really have the chance to do, you know. So back in let's say the last 20 years, Rich Page was doing all of it, so he as the tour manager, and now these two positions got split. It got split, basically his position got split into two positions, and Alberto is one of them, and the event manager is the lady from Denmark. I'm blanking on the name.
Catherine.
Oh, yep.
Catherine, yeah. So it's a new beginning, let's say, for the PWA behind the scenes, and time will tell how it goes. It's really hard to. I was on the PWA management board as a sailor representative for like maybe 3 or 4 years, 4 years probably, and then I basically left just before, as Nico got not it's not connected, but as Nico was getting elected, I quit at the same time, let's say before that election. So I had no idea how the process went. I know it was a lot of work and a lot of restructuring and a lot of stuff, but so that's basically the lowdown. And for more info, you probably have to ask either Nico Preen or one of the management board people, which is Dieter van der Eycken, Jordi Vonk, and it was on the girls' side Jane Seaman, who just won Chile, but she's about to step down also as board member. So
Yep.
So I think what people have to realize is that a lot of people think that PWA is this mogul, this big bad organization, and actually the structure, it's an association of windsurfers, of professional windsurfers, hence PWA, and it's a non-profit organization in which very few people are actually employed like on paid positions. You know, it's mostly riders volunteering to be on the management board, free riders, free brand representatives volunteering to be on the management board, and currently it's Francisco Goya from Goya, obviously Robert Stroy from Neil Pride, and Arnon Dagan from Futurefly, who represents like the smaller brands. So the board is those three, the three riders, and a president, a chairman of the board, which is Nico Preen, which also has to be a rider representative. When this was set up, some stuff went down with a marketing agency that disappeared with a bunch of money, and so the riders, they really wanted to keep the control of the association. So the way it was structured, it was, okay, let's keep it in-house. So let's have 4 riders and 3 brand representatives. Yeah, the chair of the board would also always be a rider. And this is how it was managed for a long time. And this management board would employ a tour manager, whatever the positions would be, yeah, a sponsorship manager, a marketing manager, whatever. But let's say the head of the snake is that management board, which is made out of 4 riders and 3 industry members. So when somebody thinks that PWA is some sort of a bad, evil, greedy corporation, which you sometimes see in the comments, no, it's actually a very organic sports organization which has the absolute best interest of the sport at heart.
Okay.
Cool.
So we'll have to see what he does. I like, what we're going to see different, we don't know. But yes, watch this space, I guess.
Changes.
Guadeloupe. I'm looking forward to Guadeloupe.
Oh, yeah. Actually, Maciek, can you just quickly give us a brief rundown of Guadeloupe? Because that's just sort of now on the racing circuit. Have we lost Maciek?
We lost him.
Is he gone? Oh, yeah, Benny, maybe you could just quickly answer that question for me, because
I know nothing.
all of a sudden, you know nothing? Okay. Because I thought of Guadeloupe as a wave spot, and now all of a sudden it's on the foil racing.
They've got a few guys that have come out of Guadeloupe, like in terms of riders. They've got the new youth world champion. He's been going absolutely great. Tristan Algrave from the past. They've got a few riders coming out of there. So there is some good slalom guys coming out of there. I guess is Anton Kestel? No, so from under Kentel. Julian Kentel, was he from Guadeloupe? I think he was. So they've got a good history in that sort of slalom stuff. And I guess it's Tristan Algrave who's been pushing for this event. So
that's super cool.
We'll have to see.
Yeah, I mean, it's awesome to see just a new location, isn't it? It's always exciting, something different. Yeah. So that's cool. But it's just foil, huh? No fin, just foil. Foil slalom.
Foil, as far as I understand it. Again, I haven't looked into it too much because I can't actually physically go, which is disappointing. But I guess that's how it's going to be. But we will see. We'll see what it goes. I'm sure it'll be pretty epic. It'll be pretty fun to watch.
It'd be great to see a slalom, like the seniors slalom event, Aruba again, isn't it? Because I just have fond memories. That was such a cool spot, wasn't it?
It's amazing. I've been to Aruba, and I think we talked about it before, but the high winds Aruba when I was growing up, the magazines, those pictures from Aruba,
so good,
were always just stuck in my mind. Offshore, flat water, blasting out.
So good.
I always remember thinking, wow. But they have built quite a few hotels there, so it's a little bit gustier, they say, than it used to be. Still perfectly sailable, but a bit further out. And they still do the event every year, as far as I know. And who knows, maybe they step up. When you start to get this momentum going, you never know. We might be able to build on some of that. So so there we go. Yeah. I think we can probably draw a line of that. For the podcast this week.
Sounds good, Benny. Thanks to Maciek for coming in, and all of you for joining in again. And it was a good start to the year with Chile, and you'll have a few. Well, I guess you'll have a fairly busy year by the looks of it, Benny. There's a few events there.
Yeah. Again, I don't know how it's all going to work, but hopefully I'll be at a few of them. Let's see. Watch this space.
Actually, just quickly too, that's worth a mention, isn't it? But there is a Maui event coming up. It's actually not on this page. Maybe it's because it's on the IWT. It gets a bit confusing sometimes, but there is a Maui. What was it called? Was it Maui?
It's an invitation or something like this. Is it like a Spring Force 3-star or something like this? Is it like some sort of pro-am or whatever they call it?
Yeah, exactly. So that is another event coming up. So apologies that I'm not organized with that one. But that is something coming up in the next week or so. So another Maui event. So it's not going to be live streamed, I believe, but hopefully we'll get some good footage from it anyway.
Yeah, let's see. All right, dude.
Cool.
Good
All
to
right,
chat,
guys.
as always.
Yep. I'll catch everybody next time.
See you
See ya.
later.
It's that time of the week again. Sit back, relax, we got the brain of band. No need to stress in the house, it's Van Bellen. The game is windsurfing, you can't yell them or tell them. We get the news, the views, the win biz. The brand's gear, tips plus the world's best quiz. Cobs PWA, we're professionals without the pay. There's nothing in pole dancing that we won't chat. From tandem boards to a windsurfing cat. It's your one-stop shop for a laugh and listen. Tune in each week or you'll be doing the